Welcome to the Building Doors Podcast, where we're not just pushing for opportunities for women's voices to be heard, we're creating them. I'm Christy Harst, voiceover actor and creator of the Building Doors campaign. Join us as we amplify voices, break barriers, and build doors together.
Let's make it roll, Tim Powers.
Delightful. Welcome to the Building Doors LinkedIn Live for June. I'm Tim Powers. If you ever wondered who that jerk is, it's me. And today we're diving into improv, and I am thrilled to be joined by my good friend Christy Harst. You have an official title. I was going to call you the chairperson for Building Doors, but
you were gonna downgrade me. I am the creator.
Good start, Tim.
Yep. Good night, everybody. See you next week. I'm also joined by some dear friends and very talented fellow voice actors, Mr. Bill Seller, Miss Bethany Lanza, and Miss Amy Beaver, and today we're going to be doing some improv games live on the show, and they're going to be sharing their insight on improvisation and voice acting. I also want to thank some of our supporters who recently bought us some coffee. Thanks to Andrea Burke, former professional rugby player and broadcaster for CBS, TSN, and World Rugby, for her donation. If you love the Building Doors campaign, our live events, or our podcast, or just Christy, because how could you not? Buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/buildingdoorsvo. Okay. We appreciate your support, and we could not do this without you. So thank you, everybody, for being here. So as I said before, I'm Tim Powers. I had developed what's called Timprov, which is improvisation online for voice actors. And I created this a few years ago as I was coaching brand new actors, folks who had not only never done voice acting before, but have never acted before. Folks who are like, I've got a good voice. How hard can it be? And what they found is, as a lot of us have found, it's very difficult. It's very nuanced. It's very complicated. And a lot of those actors were just bent on getting it right. They wanted to do it absolutely right. They wanted to get it perfect. And as I've said a lot of times, what we do is an art, not a science. So there's room, and the spontaneity is what's important. Meisner's definition of acting is behaving in a truthful manner under imagined circumstances. And that's our job, is to imagine circumstances that we are not actually physically in and act as if we were, right? No one wants to listen to us talk into our microphones in a booth, right? And so the concept of improvisation is acting without a script. And every single person on the planet has been improvising their entire lives. People think, oh my gosh, I could never be as funny as the people on Whose Line Is It Anyway? I could never do what Second City does, or I could never do what the cast of Saturday Night Live does. And yes, you can, because you do it all the time. You're just making choices and behaving. Every conversation you've ever had in your life is completely improvised. You have maybe an idea of where you want to go, but you are improvising that conversation. If you get sent to the supermarket to buy Cheerios and they're out of Cheerios, you figure out what to do. That in its very nature is improvisation. You just don't stand there like a sim waiting for the Cheerios to show up. You figure out what to do. You improvise all the time. It's the same thing we did when we were kids, right? I've said this before too. In 1975, when my brother and I were tying dish towels around our necks and running around in the backyard, we stopped being Tim and Rich Powers. We were Batman and Robin. We acted as if we were Batman and Robin. We didn't have a script. We just improvised. That's all we're doing here today. So what I kind of wanted to do was just demonstrate how anybody can improvise. I was talking to Christy before the show, and she's never taken an improv class. She's a very talented voice actor, an amazing person, but never taken an improv class. And so what I kind of want to do is demystify the process and just show that it can be done. It's really easy. Okay. So I have now talked for like 10 minutes straight, and Christy, this is your show. Should I maybe hand you the mics? Are there questions? Are there things that we need to hit? Beautiful. Okay, cool. Here's what we're going to do. The first game that I want to play is called the Mike Gonzalez Family Photo Album. Okay. And for that, I'm going to need to share my screen. So I will in a second. And so Mike Gonzalez is a friend of mine and a voice actor who's come to Timprov for about the last 4 years, and we've gotten to know each other. And he has given me photos from his family album. And I'm going to show you some of those photos from the album. And I want you to tell me, because you know the history of the Gonzalez family as good as I do, as good as Mike does. You know what's going on in the photos. You know who they are. You know why the photo was taken. You know what that moment in history is. Okay. And I want you just to tell me what's going on in that family photo. So, Christy, I would like to share my screen. Beautiful. Give me just a second. And Bill, I want to start with Bill. You know Mike, right?
Oh, yeah. We go way back. Yeah.
Yeah, way back, right? And you know the Gonzalez family history.
Yes.
So here's what I want, dude, is I want you to tell me about this event in the Gonzalez family history. Can you see this? What who is this person and what's going on here, dude?
That's Mike's great aunt. And actually she's the one right up front near the little girl.
Oh, good. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And she's leading the whole family to try to track down this girl because, you know, she's trying to leave the penguin flock, and Mike's great aunt, she's not having it. She's not having it. She wants her to come back. And the main reason she needs her to come back is, well, she's got all the fish. So they're tracking her down. It's a family event. It's kind of like an outing.
Yeah.
They just want their fish back, but this little girl is having none of it, but neither is his aunt. So she is leading the pack of Gonzalez penguins up there to grab their food. Pretty simple.
And there you go, right? Bill had no idea what was coming. That's the beauty of it. All right, cool. Amy.
Yes.
You know I'm gonna show this picture. All right. Amy, you know Mike, you know the Gonzalez family history. You guys go way back, right? Marvelous people. So I want you to tell me, who is this person? What happened? What is this event in the Gonzalez family history?
It is the family's first 4th of July here in the States. And they were very excited about the event. They pilfered this flag from the local Five and Dime. And I think this is Mike's grandmother on his father's side.
Yeah.
And she always, wanted to dress for the occasion. It looks like she's mixing several holidays. If you look closely at her purse, it appears that it could be Santa on his sleigh being pulled by a reindeer.
Mm-hmm.
So she wanted to kind of pull in Christmas, but also the 4th of July. However, there were some people in the family that were not supporters of combining those two holidays, hence why she chose to arm herself, so that she could defend her stance that the two holidays go together.
There you go. Right. All right. I love this so much. See, and that's the thing. Oh, we'll talk about this game in a second. All right, Bethany, you know Mike. You work with Mike. We've partied with Mike, right? I mean, tell me all about, let's see, here we go. This event in the Gonzalez family history. Here we go. Boom. Mike's family is full of amazing things.
Well, Mike's family has always been growers of different items, and their most prized possession is how big can we get this pickle? And really, it starts as a cucumber, but because they have this big vat of like vinegar and stuff that they dip these massive pickles in. The biggest one that they had, like this one, is really small compared to the human-sized, like Shaquille O'Neal-sized pickle that they originally had. But they didn't have cameras at that time, so they couldn't take pictures. So it was just all in memory. And so this is sort of Shaquille's son, this pickle right here, and they named him Shaq Jr. And they dip that into the vat of vinegar in order to make it, to ferment it and get the pickle from the cucumber. And it just dwarfs all of the other items in their garden at this time. And they were just well known in the community for what they can produce.
There you go. See, that's what it's all about, right? Just beautiful story, Bethany. Really, really nice. All right, Christy.
Oh no!
There we go. Come on.
Oh, no. Here's the thing, Christy. Christy, you know the Gonzalez family history, right? So All you need to do is take a look at the picture. Tell me who's in it, what's going on, what's the backstory behind this picture, right? Just like
Great.
everybody else did, with all the confidence of everything there. So tell me about this event in the Gonzalez family history. How did this happen?
So for those listening on the podcast, this picture is of a woman on a bed, a white woman.
Yeah.
And there is a bear, appears to be like middle-aged, maybe teenage grizzly bear with the paw over the shoulder of the white woman.
Right.
And so I make sure to describe it as a middle-aged white woman, because as we all know, middle-aged white women, Karens, they love to take in some animals, and they'll take in anything. They'll see a coyote and say, "Oh, that's a dog. I'm gonna take it in. Oh, it's so cute. It's so cute. Oh, look at the bear, it's so fuzzy. I'll take it in." And I think that's what this woman right now is realizing, is that she took in what she thought was a dog, and now in its teen years is becoming a grizzly bear, and she has a bit of regret. That's why she has her palm on her face, because she's realizing she committed a bit too big.
Right? Isn't that how it happens? You bring them home from the hospital and they're all cute and fuzzy, and then when they get to be teenagers, you're like, "Oh, what have I done? I have been," right? We've all been there, right? Great work, Christy. See, now, why is this game important, and how does it apply to what we do as voice actors? Well, when we get a script, especially those of us that work in video games, a lot of times we're not given a lot of detail, right? We know about our character, but we don't know the content of the scene. And so the line is, "Hey, let's go get some coffee." There are infinite numbers of ways that you could perform that line to give the audition for your video game. Looking for those details, the size of the pickle, the look on the woman's face, the look on the guy's face while he's holding the pickle like a football, all those little details help you. Using that muscle helps you find the little nuggets in your script that give you an idea of what the scene is. If a word is repeated a couple of times, or if there's an unusual word choice, maybe that's something that the writer's trying to get across, or you hear or you see the same concept repeated over and over and over again. That power of observation that you used in that game, and all four of you used it beautifully. That's the practical application of that game. The next game that we're going to play requires us to be in order. And the four of you, right? So Christy, Bill, Amy, and Bethany. Okay, so that's the order that you guys are in. Christy, Bill, Amy, Bethany. Skip me. Okay, so we'll go in the order in the screen. The four of you, right? This is a listening game where you've got to be attentive. The good news is, Christy, if you're worried about your ability to improvise, you only need to think of one word.
Okay.
So the four of you are the world's foremost expert on, since I don't have an audience to get some suggestions from, you guys are the world's foremost expert on lawn care. Okay. You know more about lawn care than anybody else in the world. These four marvelous actors who are actually scientists and know more about lawn care than anybody else. And today we're hosting the Building Doors seminar on all things lawn care. Okay. Unfortunately, on the way to this event, the four of you were involved in a horrible nuclear accident, and you were fused into a single being sharing a brain, and you were only allowed to speak one word at a time, but you use complete sentences. But you're only allowed to speak one word at a time in the order: Bill, Christy, Amy, Bethany. Back to Bill. Okay, Bill will always start, but your sentences are complete sentences. Happy birthday to you. You belong in a zoo, right? You get that? Okay. So I'm just going to ask you some questions about lawn care. Today is your day. Because, folks, in addition to being the voice actor, coach, and director that I am also a homeowner, and I have a lawn. And let me tell you, Building Doors has spared no expense to bring you the world's foremost expert on lawn care. World's foremost expert on lawn care, so that we can address you by name. Would you kindly greet us with a polite salutation and introduce yourself by name, please?
Hello.
My
Name.
Is.
Turf.
And.
Dirt.
And.
McGillicuddy.
All right. Well, if I could take the liberty to call you Turf, we're delighted to have you here today. One of the things that has beset my lawn here in Western New York is crabgrass. What is the best way to get rid of crabgrass in my yard?
Well,
Photosynthesis.
Will.
Occur.
also,
When.
You.
Place.
rover,
Sunlight.
Directly.
Across.
from,
The.
Sun.
Yeah. See? Again, your answers don't have to be factually accurate. They just have to work in a sentence. So there you go. We're placing sunlight directly across from the sun. If it was a snake, it would have bit me, right? Okay. Rebecca Larrabee wanted to know, how does she change her lawn to high-grade grass? Legal in Canada, I believe. So how do you change your lawn to high-grade grass?
uncle,
Sod.
Will.
Crop dust.
It's hyphenated. I'll allow it.
the,
Best.
There you go.
Form.
Of.
grass.
Possible.
Ah, right? Okay, I got one more question from Uncle Roy. Okay. Hey, Roy. Roy, by the way, has a lovely lawn, front and back. If you haven't been to Roy's party, his lawn is exceptional, and we make a point to trample the hell out of it every single year. Roy,
Imagine Uncle Roy having really good grass. Who knew? Sorry.
So Roy's question is, once you have those dandelions, right? What's a good recipe for dandelion stew?
The
First.
Step.
Is.
picking,
Dandelions.
Then.
You.
crush,
The.
Dandelions.
With.
a,
Mortar.
Also.
A.
rock.
That okay, we'll take one more. Let's see. We've got, how do we grow the best dandelions, right? How do we grow the best dandelions?
First,
Sugar.
Is.
The.
best,
Ingredient.
For.
Fertilizing.
dandelions.
Then.
You.
Take.
More,
Maple syrup.
And.
Put.
it,
Hot.
Directly.
In.
your,
Pants.
Okay, cool. And that's the game. Nice work, actors. Really, really nice. The trick to this game is being present, is listening, right? There are 4 actors playing this game, and 3 of the 4 actors' jobs is to justify the choice that the actors who came before them made, whatever that is. You have to be present, because if you're trying to shoehorn a word into the scene, it may or may not work. You have to be responsive, and the more you think about the word that you're going to use, the harder this game is, right? All of you at one point or another had a little brain lock while you were trying to figure out what word to come next, and once you stopped thinking about it, it just came to you. This wasn't about being funny. This was about collaboration. This was about listening. Why is that important? Because when you're in a directed session and you're delivering a marvelous performance, and then the director goes, okay, now do it this way, you've got to be responsive to that. You've got to be present in that moment and have enough skill to pivot that, right? So that's what Timprov is really all about. Developing a way for you to stop thinking and just be in the scene. How many times as an actor has your director or your producer or your coach said you're in your head? In that game that you just played, you can't be in your head. There are 4 heads there, and you have to all be in each other's heads and listening to each other. And there was a point where instinctively you knew where the sentence was going, and you just played your part. If you're trying to be the funny one and always try to work in whatever weird word you want to put in, it screws everybody else up. And so it's just like theater. Sometimes you're Julius Caesar. Sometimes you're the dude in the back holding the spear. Sometimes you get to say the funny word. Sometimes your word is just and, or is, or then. Guess what? Not everybody's a star. In a good improv cast, there are no stars. Right? And I've been saying this a lot for Timprov sessions. I don't cast people. I don't cast jobs. So impressing me does absolutely nothing. There's no one in a Timprov session who can give you work. So just show up and be an actor. It's just a workout exercise, right? For Bill and Bethany and Amy, who have done Timprov, can you tell me about opportunities in your, or experiences in your work where what you've taken from improv, whether it was me or one of your other improv coaches, you've taken an improv concept and used it in scripted voiceover work?
Yeah, I just did it last week with a couple auditions that I had come in, actually. More or less the Mike Gonzalez thing that we just went through, right?
Yeah.
You don't know. A lot of times, I got a couple auditions for obviously code-named products, right?
Right.
So you're not sure what it really is or whatever. So I start to build in my head what it could be. And I will actually stand in the booth and develop that same scenario, right? I know a few people that will do the walk up or whatever you want to call it in a line or two, but I've actually been developing more of a story like we do with those pictures. And that's all come from working in Timprov.
Cool. Ladies, anything? Again, this is not to toot my own horn. It is to demonstrate that this actually has practical purpose. Yeah, Bethany, what you got?
I find it most useful to me when I'm searching for alternate reads, for my ABC read or my, that kind of thing. It helps me pivot from sort of the place that I am to the place that I would not expect to be, and try to have a nice diverse range of different takes for specific, scripts and stuff. So that has been super helpful to me in that respect.
So you're learning how to, or you've experienced how to pivot, right?
It's given me more, it's expanded my imagination in what is possible with a script and what is possible with words and how you can manipulate them and play with them. And a lot of times, if you can get to a place where you're, I don't know, way too fantastical or way too grandiose than you would ever actually submit in something, it sort of helps dial you down. You kind of dial in where you want to be within that range. It's just, it's just freedom, if that makes sense.
That's a perfect example of this, because in improv, there are literally infinite choices for anything that you can do. If, let's say, Bill and I are in a scene together and I'm like, Bill, happy birthday, dude. And I mime that I'm handing Bill a box. Neither one of us really knows what's in that box until Bill opens it and says, "Oh, puppies." Right. But there could be anything in that box. Oh, my, human head. Like, it could be literally anything. Terry Briscoe says he used his improv experience in his animation sessions last week. He asked the director if he could try a few things, and he was literally improvising in that session. And what it did is it lended authenticity to that performance and gave the producer options. I mean, come on. If you give a producer 4 or 5 different options and they're all rooted in any kind of reality at all, how fun is that? How cool is that? Right. So again, I've been talking for almost half an hour straight, minus the games. Are there questions? Are there thoughts? Is there anything? Christy, this is your first improv experience. What did you think? Like, I watched the panic set in, and then I watched you play, which is really rewarding for me. How was that experience for you?
So I have looking at a picture and telling a story. Yeah, I could do that all day. That's imagination. That's fun, right?
Right.
Making up characters from the picture and backstories. I think that's super fun. For me, I will say that whole exercise of finishing the sentence.
Yeah.
I started putting out crazy answers because I was like, this is not fun. I want it to be fun. I want it to be silly. So let's put out maple syrup and pants. So for me, I think I had that moment where I was like, I just want to throw a wrench in there. And I want it to be, and I didn't know that was a rule, right? I didn't know it was a rule that you shouldn't do that you should just.
The thing is, there are no rules.
Okay. I didn't know if I did something wrong by doing something off But yeah, I don't know.
But you did not. You didn't do anything. Like you were going for a joke, but the scene still worked, right? What happened when you gave maple syrup as a contribution to that scene is it required the other three actors to justify that maple syrup and act as if that's the actual answer.
Okay.
Right? So we had to justify that reality because you were all creating a reality together. And if you're throwing something interesting, that's kind of a gift, right?
Oh, would you thank you?
Well, so there you go, right? It's a gift, meaning it's a little nugget that those other actors can play with. If we started to go on about, how adding sugary substances to your lawn enhances the lawn care, that becomes the reality that we have because it's the reality that we were creating. Just like the example that I used where I gave Bill a box and he opened it up and there was, a Holly Hobby tea set in there. Right. Who knows? That becomes our reality because we're creating the reality a little bit at a time. It's Bethany, what?
I just wanted to add to this that pants seems off kilter, but if that had continued, it would have been pants like in Shawshank Redemption, how he sticks the rocks in his, in his pocket and he drops the rocks all over that's how he got rid of his wall. If anybody's seen that movie, but you never know where pants could have taken. What direction that could have taken. And so it sounds off kilter because we ended there, but it may not have been. And if we had continued that, I was just wanting to add that.
No, you're absolutely right. Which leads me to the mantra of all things improv, Bethany. Thank you for that springboard. If you study improv for just a little bit, you start to learn the two most important words in improv. And in my experience, the two most important words in life. Yes and. Right. And you've seen it. Like if you talk to improvisers or you watch people make fun of improv on TV or whatever, they have that yes. Cheryl, you're one step ahead of me. Yes, meaning you accept whatever information you're given. Bill, here's a box. And puppies, Holly Hobby tea set, whatever it is.
A man can dream.
A man can dream. I am so going on eBay after this and sending Bill a Holly Hobby tea set. But life goes a lot better and your scenes go a lot better when you yes and. We're talking about lawn care and Christy says maple syrup. You guys yes and the maple syrup and act as if. That makes perfect sense. That's the beauty of this. The opposite of yes and is no but. And that brings everything to a complete stop, right? Maple syrup. If we had maple syrup and then one of you guys goes, I can't do anything with maple syrup, that scene dies right there on stage and there's nowhere to go. Yes and is a beautiful way to live your life. It has made me, in the past almost 30 years that I've been studying improv, the day I really embraced yes and, my life got better because you release control. Yes, you accept whatever comes your way and you just go with it. When Friday afternoon, I come downstairs after working and my wife says, we're going to go visit my mother. I have a choice. I can say yes, and I'm bringing a good book, or no, but you have a great time, which is going to go easier for both of us. That yes and, right? The thing about improv is it releases you from the demon of control. Okay?
Oh, say it again. Say it again.
It releases you from the demon of control. If you are a control freak, you're going to hate improv until you start to understand it. For example, in the game that we just did, where the four of you were creating sentences one word at a time, you had no control over what the other three actors were going to say. You had no control where the sentence was going to go. In this game, you do not drive bus drive you, right? Those of you old enough to get that reference, I'm sorry, but still. But I mean, you experienced it, right? Christy kind of tried to wrestle control. And again, not a bad thing, because what you were doing was giving a gift, and it allowed the other actors to play. But you're like, I want this to be funny, so I'm going to inject something funny. Great instinct right there. But what if you just let it ride?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And there's so much of our lives that we have no control over, especially in this industry. You know, I do 10, 15, 20 auditions a day, maybe, right? Once they leave my email, I have no control over what happens. Nothing. I have no control over what happens at all in my life. The only thing I really have any control over is that moment where I took that breath, and that moment where and then that moment is gone. I have no control over anything. Of course, I can operate within the context of my life, but ultimately I have no control. You know, a golf ball could come in through my window, hit me in the head in the middle of this. It would be hilarious for everybody but me, but I have no control over whether or not that's going to happen. And when you are acting, right? How many times have you heard acting is reacting? That's what it's all about. How many times have you been in a scene where the director says you're announcing rather than acting? Announcing is proactively giving information, and reacting adds that heart to your performance. Those of you who have coached or been directed by me, and all three of you have, how many times have I said, I need you to react to something. I need an emotion for you to react to. I don't care about your motivation. How do they feel about what's going on in the scene? And that's what this is all about. Just being present and reacting.
I don't know if you saw, Bill, but Uncle Roy put a link to your hobby, Holly.
Yes, that's probably, yeah. Yes. Thank you so much, Uncle Roy.
Well, and my guess is Roy probably has one on display somewhere in his house, and I missed it when I was hanging out over there. So
it wasn't the T set, it was actually Holly Hobby. Thank you, sir.
Roy, by the way, is marvelous with improvisation. I've been directed by Roy. I've worked in his studio, and his whole life is about yes-anding things. And it's fabulous. So having said all this, man, you know, if our job is to act and sound spontaneous, improv is a great crash course in being spontaneous. I would encourage everybody, if you live in a relatively major metropolitan area, to take a live improv class wherever you are. Odds are good, if you're in a city with more than 500,000 people in it, there's an improv studio there somewhere. And if not, there's one pretty close by. And an intro level 101 class where no one has any more experience than you can be incredibly liberating. If you're the kind of actor who goes, what do I do with this scene? What do I do with this scene? Improv forces you to make those decisions. I use this example all the time. I was on stage one time and the director goes, okay, you guys, it's me and my buddy on stage. He's like, you're two demons in hell arguing over what to watch on television. And we had 3 seconds to make bold choices about our characters, our posture, about what we were doing. And I look at my buddy and go, Hogan's Heroes is on in 20 minutes, you know, and we had no idea what was going to go. And we just kept building. After that, it's the same thing we did when we were kids, man. Playing, you know, G.I. Joe or Barbie or Wonder Woman or Bionic Man in the backyard. Making it up as you go along. It's beautiful and it's liberating, and it allows you to be the actor that you need to be. So there you go.
I love that comparison of taking it back to childhood.
That's our job, Christy. It's really play acting, right? And the primary form of learning is play, right? So all we're doing is the same thing we did when we were little, behaving in a truthful manner under imagined circumstances. You know, we get to play. How awesome is it that sometimes I get to be Batman, I get to be Swamp Thing, I get to be a talking penguin at the zoo? You know, one of my agents in Canada likes to say, you know, nobody cares that much about Kraft dinner. Nobody cares that much about Kraft macaroni and cheese. But I get to pretend for a moment that it's really important. My dad has been dead for 5 years, and I get to talk to him every day in my work. How cool is that?
Wow, that's so great that you just said that.
You know?
A great spin on it, right?
I get to pretend to be cool things all the time. I got into this industry so that I could be a superhero. Just a little backstory. Once upon a time, I was a comedian at the Comedy Store. And after a show, this little 75, 80-year-old man comes up to me afterwards. And he's like, you're really funny. You're really good. I'm a producer. I want to talk to you. And I vetted him. before I went to his house and talked to him. And it turns out he was the producer and director for Gilligan's Island and Dobie Gillis. He worked on Flipper. He was a TV writer, and he had this museum full. He used to write jokes for Bob Hope, and his house was a museum full of memorabilia from the stuff that he worked on. And he said, "You're really good. You're really good. You're really funny. But with that face, you're never going to be a leading man." And I said, "Okay. So how can I be a leading man when I look like I live in bedrock?" Right? Guess what? I can be a leading man right now, So there you go. Ellie Cat says, "I was Batman for her son," which is true. Her little boy was having a birthday and he was a huge Batman fan. So I got to leave a voicemail message as Batman for her little boy. And how cool is it that I get to be Batman, right? That you get to be president, you get to be CEO, you get to be, whatever it is, whatever you're going to play, you get to be that. And you get to commit to the fullest of that whole thing. How cool is it that we get to pretend and play for a living while other people, with all due respect, have to go pump gas for people, have to act like they really care how your day is at Costco?
Hey, Tim, we have a request for more games. Do you have any other exercises we could do before we close out?
Yes, and I will think of one right now.
Yes, and
I will think of one right now, because those two are really, really easy to do right off the top of my head. Here's what you do. Here's what we do. All four of you at your workplace, right where you are, you have various and sundry items around your workspace, right? And I just want you to grab one of the things that you have just lying around at your desktop, right? And so, Roy, Shemp was absolutely a leading name. So the item that you pick up is, once you pick it up, becomes something different than what you picked up. So, for example, if you picked up a paperclip, rather than tell me it's a paperclip, the features of that thing are going to help me solve a problem. Okay. And my problem is my new puppy, Bucky, who, by the way, is adorable. He's a puggle, right? Pug beagle mix. And he's really cool, but he's a puppy and he barks all the time. Okay. And so what you picked up, which you will show to us in just a second, is going to help me keep Bucky from barking. So, for example, this device that I have picked up off of my desktop, right? What it is actually is it's gonna help me with Bucky, because what it is, it's a horn. It's a horn. You can see it's got this conical shape right here, and if I blow through it just like that, it emits a sound that only Bucky can hear. And if I blow it when he barks, it's unpleasing to him, and it will train him not to bark while I'm trying to record an automotive commercial that is due in like 15 minutes and I need the dog to shut up. So it's just as simple as blowing through that. You guys get what I'm doing? Okay. Bill, help me out, would you please?
Yeah, what I got here is it's your basic dog remote.
Okay.
Right? So it's a two-part thing, really. This is the part that you have after you have put the chip into Rocky. When he starts barking, it doesn't hurt him. This doesn't hurt him in any way. It's just an on-off switch. That's all it is. He starts barking. You hit that real quick. But nothing comes out. And then when you're done reading, boom, you do it again, and he's back to being the adorable, lovely little scamp that we all love.
Oh, that's very sweet. I love that. Christy, what do you have to help me with old Bucky? Tell me about it.
So oftentimes, dogs can't talk, right? So we have to interpret, right? We have to interpret what they're feeling. And sometimes you don't know, right? Like maybe Bucky threw up in the morning. But you don't know, because you don't know what Bucky got into, right?
Truth.
You don't know. So you put this on top of Bucky's head, and Bucky's going to be able to tell you, I ate a dirty Kleenex and it's upsetting my tummy. I ate your daughter's used tampon and I don't feel good anymore. And then you just take it off. And he doesn't like talk. It's just like an orb. It's like this like pulsating voice that comes out and tells you exactly what's wrong with Bucky.
There you go. Okay, Christy, that was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. We'll talk about this game when we're done. But Bethany, what do you got to help me with old Bucky, huh?
Well, fortunate for you, I have 2 puggles of my own, and they both bark. And so I have tried to come up with some sort of system to prevent that too, because it affects my recording in the same way. So maybe Bucky will respond as well. And what I use is this decoder.
Okay.
And I just do all of the motions and it taps, oops, and then you drop it and break it. But I twist all of the things and I decode the sensors in their microchip and they just go silent. Like it mutes them. And then I decode them and they start speaking again. It's glorious. I can turn them off and turn them on whenever I want.
I love this. This is great. Yeah, perfect. Amy, help me out with old Bucky.
Well, fortunately, when I was browsing the aisles at my local pet store, I explained to one of the employees my situation with my dog, and I really think Bucky could use this. So, although this says spray adhesive, good news, that's not what's really in the bottle.
No.
So, what happens when your dog starts barking? I always think the best thing to do is distract them. Distract them that Amazon has come to the door or that a cat is in the yard. This sprays out a delicious poultry-flavored mist. And your dog will be so enamored trying to lick it off the floor, suck it from the air, that they are no longer interested in barking because they have delicious poultry flavor in a safe but effective aerosol container.
Beautiful. Love that. Love that. Okay, so all 4 of you, what a beautiful acting exercise, right? All I want you to do is commit to a reality that doesn't actually exist. And all 4 of you committed to the most ludicrous reality you could think of, right? Remote control dogs. What was poultry flavored mist, Amy? Right? Which I think is the name of my band now, is poultry flavored mist. But you committed without blinking to the most ludicrous, weirdest of realities. What else is acting? That's really who we are. You know, I hate to disappoint you all, but I'm not really a superhero. Chris Evans is not really a World War II veteran who spent 70 years stuck in an iceberg. You know, Meryl Streep never really had to choose between her children at a Nazi concentration camp. But boy, howdy, do they commit to that reality. And we, in this room, we just committed to the reality that there is poultry flavored mist that adheres your dog's mouth shut. Like, that's beautiful. That's acting. That's entirely what we are here to do. This is our job as actors. Bill, Bethany, Amy, thank you so much for showing up and helping me with this today. I really couldn't do it without you. And I am so grateful that the 3 of you have entered my universe. Thank you very much. I'm so grateful for all of you. So, Christy, is there anything else that we need to talk about before we wrap it up and call it a show?
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but we have a very engaged audience. There are a lot of people commenting. And I think that there were 3 exercises that were given today that anybody can do on their own and can help improve not only their ability to speak with groups of people at networking events, with their family at the dinner table, or behind the mic. So thank you, Tim and Timprov, and to your guests who generously donated their time out of their day to come be of service to the Building Doors community. I greatly appreciate it. I had fun. And I'm so glad that my first experience with improv was with all of you.
I couldn't be more honored, Christy. And the day that I learned about what it is you were doing, I'm like, I got to get involved. And I think it was Roy who introduced us and told me about what you were doing. And I've said it before, and I will say it until I can't talk anymore. I was raised by, and I am married to, very strong women. And I really want to ring this bell as loud as I can, and whatever I can do as an ally to support what you're doing, I am absolutely here to do it. I want to see this just blow up and
thank you.
Really make it happen. So having said that, thank you very much for making me a part of this. If you want to support what they're doing here, buy Christy a cup of coffee. Go to buyacoffee.com/buildingdoorsvo and buy this woman a cup of coffee because Lord knows she needs more caffeine. And we'd love to keep the conversation going. So call the Building Doors hotline, 216-307-1917. That's 216-307-1917. Anytime. Leave a short voicemail with your thoughts on today's discussion. If you had a great time, my name is Tim Powers. If you didn't, say hi to Bill Seller. And
by the way, caller 10 gets a free Improv merchandise. Caller 10 looking for you right now.
Caller 10 looking for you right now. Don't miss the live event next time. It's Instagram Live with Christy Harst. It's the State of Building Doors, kind of a State of the Union address. And that's coming up on the 25th in about 2 weeks at 7 p.m. Eastern on Instagram. So there you go. That's what this is all about. You guys, thank you so much for Christy. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. Thanks for letting me be an ally. Bill, Bethany, Amy.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to work with you, Tim, how do they do it?
My website is, and I regret this choice, but I'm stuck with it, is voiceofpowers.com. It's actually my birth name is Powers. It's not a stage name. But you can reach me at voiceofpowers.com. Engage with me anytime. If you go to my coaching page, I offer what's called a 15-minute cup of coffee, and it's free. And you get 15 minutes of my time to talk about whatever you want at no charge. Okay.
Excellent.
So we can talk about whatever you want, or just shoot me an email through there. Okay. But thanks for the opportunity to ring my own bell. Really, really nice.
Good. You should. Yeah, you absolutely should. I know that there are people who have given lives and they've gotten some clients from it. And honestly, that's what this is all about. It's about providing a service to our community, and then hopefully engaging the host with more people to advance what they're doing and their mission, because you came on to help advance my mission. So hopefully we can get people to help advance yours. So it all goes around, right?
The rising tide actually genuinely does raise all boats. And that's the unique thing about the voiceover industry,
Yes.
right? When I was a comedian, we would push each other in front of a bus for a job. It was full of backstabbing and all kinds of chicanery. And in this industry, it is literally the most supportive, kindest industry across the board. You have folks in this industry who will help you no matter what. If you're brand new and you're like, what microphone should I get? There are 100 people who will help you with that decision and kind of bump you in the right direction. So having said that, once again, I want to ring the bell for Amy Bieber, who is an incredibly talented voice actor, Bethany Lanza, who is insanely talented, and my friend Bill Seller, who is marvelous and talented and funny. And all three of you are just marvelous and kind and great to work with. So if you are casting for anything and these three meet your spec, look them up, would you please? Okay, cool. That's it. I'm Tim Powers. See you next time.
Thanks for having us, guys. Lots of fun. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to the Building Doors podcast. Want to hear more? Check out all our episodes at buildingdoorsvo.com/podcast and follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn at Building Doors VO. We'd love to hear from you, so call us on our 24/7 hotline at 216-307-1917 and leave us a voicemail with your thoughts. Do you want to support the podcast? Well, we love coffee. Buy us a cup through the link in the description or at buildingdoorsvo.com. Until next time, keep pushing forward, keep speaking up, and let's keep building doors together.